If you have any questions or accommodation needs, drop them in the chat as we're going through. We're always looking to keep an eye out for things that we can be adding as we're hosting these events. But today we have Jacob here with us, who is joining, and he'll be giving us and walking us through a LinkedIn masterclass. And we're going to be learning from him. So super excited, Jacob, to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. I'll toss it over to you for an intro and yeah, to just get us started.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Steph, for the opportunity. Super excited to be a part of like Mentra's journey. Some really interesting things you guys are doing at the company, so very excited. Just a super quick background about myself. I wear a few different hats. I am a special education teacher, neurodivergent career coach, and person with a disability. I acquired a learning disability shortly after birth due to hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is essentially means water on the brain, or a brain hemorrhage. So I struggled a lot with like my memory recall, things like that. But over the years, I learned strategic alternative learning techniques, to help me be successful and keep moving forward. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is the way I do it. So I like to look at LinkedIn like a game of offense and defense. Okay. The majority of your job search is offense. You are going on offense. You are targeting decision makers. You're creating content based on your subject matter expertise. You are engaging in post relevant to your industry, things like that. So I call it offense. Defense is like 10% of the game. Defense is really setting up your profile and like getting ready for the game. So I'm going to start there. It's not the most glamorous part, but it is important. Okay. So we have our profile. Okay. I'm just going to top to bottom, just give you a quick overview. So we have our banner here, this rectangle. Is a review for a lot of people, but I highly recommend that everyone has some sort of banner. Why? You want to think of yourself as like you're not a job seeker. Okay? You are a brand, or you are a product or service to an organization. So if they look at a blank banner, they want to know like what value are you going to add to my organization? So even before they go to your profile and even before they scroll, they can see like for mine, for example, even though it's for business purposes, it says like who I am, what I do, right? I'm helping job seekers of all abilities. Okay, here's my company name, website. You can put more contact information if you want. That is at your discretion. Like it is the internet, so be cautious putting your phone number. I have my phone number right in my profile, and I've gotten some very colorful texts all over the world, even on WhatsApp. Okay, so just I would say use caution. I would definitely put an email. And you want to add like a pop of color, things like that. I love using Canva. It is free. They do have a premium version, like an upsell, things like that. Most sites do, but it is totally free. They have free templates. You can design your own. You can do pre-made ones. But yeah, highly recommend. It will help you stick out. Okay. In terms of your profile picture, I'm messing around with like different AI kind of stuff, just to align with my brand. But in general, you want a picture that is like shoulders up, right? Like you really just want to showcase your your face, right? Your shoulders up. This is not, unless you're modeling or like an influencer, you really just want people to know you're a human. Okay. So don't like look into it too much. I would not Photoshop or crop, if you have a picture of an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, that kind of picture, I wouldn't do that because it's pretty noticeable. Okay. I would stray away from that. I mean, you could literally use your phone if you have a smartphone. There are even AI apps where you can take a picture and they will do the makeup for you, right? There's a lot of different options. Okay, so that's that. The next part is your header section. Okay, sort of similar to your banner, but the difference is, and actually this entire page is SEO friendly. It's very SEO friendly. So SEO is search engine optimization. Okay, similar to my banner, I'm saying who I am, what I do, but specifically you want to like What value are you adding to the world? And you can get hyper specific. You can make it a quantitative, right? You can put some numbers in there. Like if you're in sales or marketing or whatever, you can you can make it quantifiable. Like, closed $800,000 of sales last year in Q4, right? That is measurable and observable. Now just think about your industry and think about how can I add something there that is perhaps measurable and observable. Doesn't have to be. The thing that I would say is the most important are keywords, right? Make it rich with keywords. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody knows about AI. Ask AI to write you something, right? Like to make it rich with keywords. That's a whole separate call with AI, like in terms of prompting, but you get the idea. And feel free if you guys have any questions about AI. I have like 1.5 million prompts, happy to share for any of this kind of stuff. Okay, so that's the gist of it. Like I said, I put my number here. You do not have to at all. It's just an option. At the bare minimum, again, I would definitely put your email. Okay. You can also there's an open to work section. It's a back end. I don't want to like waste time on doing that, but you can look that up. It basically can alert recruiters like they're looking for your skill set. Like that's the thing that I'm trying to stress to a lot of people is like this is maybe kind of biased, but I don't think the resume is the most important thing. And the reason being, if somebody comes to LinkedIn, how are they going to find you if they don't have your resume? So one of the biggest ways you can get found are keywords. If you have particular keywords on your profile or specific keywords in your content, you can, in my opinion, that is like a one to many ratio. So a resume is really just a 1 to 1 ratio. Like you can have 10 resumes, but you can only submit one per company, and you only just have like one, sitting on your profile or out there on the internet. A resume, the only way, in my opinion, it's searchable is if you submit it and it sits in a database. Well, the problem with that is it's still 1 to 1. It's only searchable by one company. But if you create like a piece of content, that's one to many. So there's over 1 billion people globally on LinkedIn. If you make one post saying who you are, what you do, your skill set, a user story, anything like that, that post has the ability to get seen by anyone in the world. I don't know if people know that. Like, you don't have to be connected to a single soul on LinkedIn for your content to pop up in a search. It's it's look at it like a Google search, right? You type in like a restaurant in a city and it'll populate all those restaurants in your area. Well, LinkedIn is very similar, except hiring managers are looking for people, not restaurants. So if you think of it like that and kind of reverse engineer the search, it's incredibly powerful. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Okay, this is one of my favorite sections on the profile. It's the about section. Look at all this real estate. It's huge. I think the last time I checked, it was up to like 3,000 characters. That's a lot of real estate. So what I would suggest is you could do like a brief overview about who you are, what you do, any experience, certifications, accomplishments, things like that. They're all rich with keywords. Again, nobody's typing in Jacob Levy to find me. They type in keywords. Okay, for example, if I were a job seeker, job titles, cities, skills, certifications, software used, essentially anything from a job description. That is what they have. They are typing in words from a job description. Okay. So think about that like in your line of work. Everybody, I'm sure, has different skill sets, different industries, but just start to think like a hiring manager. Like that's what they're looking for a lot of the time. They can search, if they have your resume in hand, that's another way to do it. But like, again, still 1 to 1 versus one to many. They don't have your resume yet, but they do have LinkedIn in front of them 24/7. Okay. Next part is featured section. This section is basically if you have a post that you're really proud of, like a certificate you just achieved or something like that, you can pin it to your profile and it will stay there forever. So in the event when a recruiter or hiring manager comes to your profile, it'll be right there. They don't have to search for it. Boom. Okay, so just something to think about. You did some project you're proud of, something like that, pin it to your feature section. Okay, I'm gonna get to the post in just a minute because that's like the bulk of the of offense. That is like 90% of it. The rest is really just your experience. I'm not even going to go over that because it's really looks like a resume. So it's really like your digital resume. Pretty straightforward. It's really just point and click. Again, all SEO friendly. You got your education, your skills. Recommendations are pretty huge because when somebody recommends you, it's like when somebody comments on your post, not only does their whole network see it, but your whole network sees it as well. So right there, you've 10x your visibility. So if you are looking, like, not a bad idea to go back to past employers, past colleagues, and just it doesn't have to be like a 10-page review. Just like, hey, can you give me a recommendation? Couple sentences, boom, you're done. Okay, it gives you credibility when somebody comes to your profile. Okay, languages, that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, the more languages, the better, but definitely not required. Okay, so that's that. Do we have any questions before we dig into the meat of it? Feel free to ask any questions. Joe, go ahead.
So I've been told before that it's recommended that in the experience section you only include like stuff that you did within the last 10 to 15 years and only if it's like relevant to the work you're looking for. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty common, same thing as on your resume, right? Like that's, I've heard that since like 1995, right? Like that, yes, I've heard that for many, 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 many years. But you also have to think about in 1995, we didn't have a pandemic, right? There weren't millions of people out of work, right? And so people had to pivot. People absolutely had to pivot. I met so many people that have pivoted, and it's actually pretty relevant to like what I'm going to go into on how to like go on offense with your job search. So, I mean, I would say like yes, you want to keep it relevant, but what if you worked at, a job for the entire pandemic? That was totally different. I mean, I think that's okay, you know. But again, this is subjective, right? Like, so something that I suggest is like could be totally subjective with what somebody else suggests. This is just like these are just my findings. If
Okay.
that helps, Joe.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Awesome. Lisa, did you have a question?
Hi, thank you. My name is Lisa Catino, and I had a question because I had once heard that your LinkedIn page should tell a complimentary story to your resume. So it shouldn't just like kind of recite your resume, but it should complement your resume. Is that making sense, or is that even good advice?
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean by, I mean, I know what compliment means, but like it depends what you're looking for, right? Like if somebody just has a resume and then they tell the same story from the resume, in a few paragraphs, what if you're pivoting? What if you're doing a whole new, working on a certification and you want to pivot? So a lot of these things are subjective, but what I will say is that like you should test the market. Test, 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 and more test, right? If you have something on your profile and you haven't got any traction in a month, try something else. Was that helpful, Lisa?
Yeah, I think that's great. I guess what I was wondering, maybe when I say like not be the same as your resume, maybe like you said, test the market. Like, is it helpful to do like bullet points in your resume and then in your LinkedIn profile and your experience, do like a more narrative, descriptive type of thing? I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. And specifically why? Because yeah, your resume it's like can be very bulleted and kind of choppy, and like you might have the objective section, but like I was alluding to before, the about section is a huge opportunity for you just to tell your story in complete sentences, right? You can't necessarily do that on a resume.
Thank you.
No problem. John, do you have a question, John?
Yeah. So I think some of the things I kind of had a question about or wondered and everything is like I realized like I don't know if it makes sense to say like there's a lot of different personalities and perspectives on LinkedIn, but it's like how and what way do you know that you kind of stand out with that? Because I realize like LinkedIn is like you could put all the effort in the world. I mean, regardless, and this is really helpful information, but I feel like you could put all the energy in the world on LinkedIn and everything, and it's like it could wear you out, tire you out, and sometimes it could feel just too depressing and too unsatisfying because it's like it's a platform. I mean, it's LinkedIn nonetheless. I mean, you can compare it to Facebook in some ways, but it's like even though it's less fluff, but that may be different for everybody else. But it's like some people, like for me, I have my experience on LinkedIn hasn't always been positive, but I've learned a lot from it. But at the same time, it's like there's still things like fluff I realize I do get on Facebook and LinkedIn, stuff like that. And it's hard to know how other people interpret you on LinkedIn. And it's easy to kind of give up or backtrack or step back after a while because I've also gotten things like sometimes like scams. Like I don't know how you're familiar with like things on LinkedIn are just natural that come and go, or like Amway scams and things like that are being interpreted in a weird way, or like no transparency. You're trying to you put a lot of effort into something. It's just like you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on behind the scene. You don't get much from it, and it gets to the point where it's just too overwhelming and too stressful, and it's not as serious. It's not as engaging, and it's not as comforting, and it's kind of slimy in return. It gets to be after a while.
Totally agree. And I mean, the whole time you were saying that, I was literally just thinking like, well, that is the internet. I don't mean that like disrespectfully at all. What I'm saying is like, you could go to any platform and you could get all sorts of garbage. I've gotten so much spam, so many fraudulent emails, things like that. Like, pick your pick your platform of choice. You know what I mean? So what I will say is that when you do think something is fraudulent, one, go with your gut. Two, definitely do your research on a company because there's plenty of shady like recruiters, things like that. One of the biggest red flags is you go to somebody's profile and they have zero followers or connections, right? If they're repping a job and they have no following, no nothing, that's a huge red flag that it's not legit. Huge, huge red flag. Okay, before we have all these other questions, I just want to get to the meat of it real quick, because this is for you guys, right? I love all the questions, but I want to actually give you something tangible that when you leave here, you can implement right away, or you can even implement on this call. All right, so I'm going to show you how to search for roles, but specifically outside your network. And it has nothing to do with the job board. I don't love job boards. That's a whole nother conversation because when you go to a job board, it'll say like, posted 14 days ago, right? Well, what if it was filled yesterday because they filled it internally? Well, legally, I don't know about every state, but I believe in the state of California, the job has to stay open for 30 days. So right there, you're at a huge disadvantage if all you're doing is applying to job boards. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys how to find roles outside your network. And here is the basic formula. It's 3 words, 3 keywords, I should say. Job title, city, and the word hiring. If you look at any job description anywhere in the world or any job post, it's going to literally have those 3 keywords: job title, city, and the word hiring. So I'm going to recreate like just one from the chat. I'm going to show you a few ways to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to pick this electrical engineer one in Los Angeles. The reason being is because I'm probably going to yield some decent results from one of the largest metro cities in the country. Okay, so so I have my job title, electrical engineer, Los Angeles, the city, and then I'm just going to back up for a second just to show you what happens the more keywords you add. So it basically looks like a Google search. Okay, it's LinkedIn is trying to think about what I want, but the more keywords you type in, the less searches it will yield, which is not a bad thing. Okay, so it still is thinking about electrical engineer, but it's like, do you want groups? Do you want jobs? Do you want interview questions? It's like trying to focus. Okay, but we're gonna psych it out. Okay, so now I'm gonna put in a city. Look what happened. Now it has no idea what I want, but this is a good thing. Okay, so watch this. I'm gonna click search. Okay, and then it's gonna give me all this raw data. LinkedIn's like, do you want posts with these 5 keywords? Do you want, let me go down a little bit more. Do you want people with these keywords? It really doesn't know what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the posts filter. Okay, now I have to give a caveat about this because it's different on everybody's, whether you're on mobile, laptop, etc. Depending on your version of LinkedIn, it might say posts and it might say content. It is the
Okay.
same filter. It is exactly the same filter. It's just different version, different platform, different interface, but it's exactly the same filter. So I'm going to click post, and now what happens is something pretty cool, is start to filter out possibly dozens or hundreds of posts saying, we're hiring for an electrical engineer in Los Angeles. Now, here's the thing with LinkedIn. It's a little bit finicky, so you got to play with it. If sometimes if your job title is more than one word, you might have to put it in double quotes. Okay, it's kind of like a string. Like if anyone's a coder here or a software developer, you might have to put it in a string. So all you do, okay, so I'll give you I'll tell you what. So if I look at this first one, associate project engineer, wonderful, in Los Angeles, right? LAUSD, okay? But we don't want a project engineer. We want an electrical engineer. Okay. So I have a feeling that somewhere in this post, it'll say the word engineer, which we see, and it'll say the word electrical somewhere.
I see it. Architect, civil, structural, electrical, mechanical, environmental engineering.
There you go. Nice, nice catch, Perry. Okay. But we don't want that. We don't want that at all. We want electrical engineer together. So basically all you do is just put it in double quotes. Now, the reason I'm showing this is one, to like show you how to fix it, but also just to show you that like these searches aren't perfect. You have to play around with them. You have to like for me, when I was a job seeker, I like learned how to break it. I basically like learned how to break LinkedIn. And once I did, it was pretty amazing. So if I put this in double quotes and I search again, what happens? Totally different search parameters. All I did was put quotes around it. That's all I did. And now, look at that. Electrical, okay, electrical service sales engineer. I don't think that's what I want, but who picked electrical engineer in Los Angeles? Does anyone want to shout it out? Joseph K, did you pick electrical engineer? You're not in trouble. I'm just asking. Okay, so here we go. Okay, this is a perfect example. I found electrical engineer. Guys, look at this. It was posted a week ago. 7 days. This is a brand new post. Okay, it's 7 days old. It is from a decision-making entity. Okay, what do I mean by that? Frida H is a VP of sales and marketing. In other words, she makes hiring decisions on her team. I can almost guarantee she makes hiring decisions. Okay, so they're hiring. So what do we do with this post? Okay, now this is a really good example because if you look in the comments, not a single person commented on this. There's 5 likes, 4 reposts. Nobody said anything about it. Typically, what job seekers do, they'll go to the post, they'll apply, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is everybody does that. Everybody does that. So what do you do? This is what I suggest. Okay. And this might seem like mundane or silly, but like I would leave what's called a 3-point shot. Okay, a 3-point shot is kind of like in basketball, and I'm 5'4". Basketball is not my sport, but that's okay. It's a good analogy. This is where you add your value to the post. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So it starts like this. So you go up to the post. Okay, this woman's name is Frida. I'm going to go, hi Frida. This post for, I'm just going to abbreviate for electrical engineer, looks great. Okay, I am qualified to do A and B. Okay, now I'll stop right there for a second. What is A and B? A and B is literally you open the job. Okay, I'll put it in a new tab if it will open. Okay, you open the job, you look at the job description. Okay, electrical engineer. Can everyone see my electrical engineer job description? Can you
Yeah.
guys see it? Okay, sweet. Okay, so you go to the job description, and all you're doing is the purpose of looking at this is you want to speak the decision maker's language. What I mean by that is if she posted this, that means like she knows the job responsibilities. She's hiring probably on her team. Okay, she's not HR, she's not TA. She's hiring because she wants an electrical engineer on her team. So I would literally look through the job responsibilities, okay, and I would pull out tops 1 to 2 responsibilities from the job in which you can do. Okay, this goes for any job description. Pull 1 to 2 job responsibilities from the job in which you can do. Okay, and you can make it like a lot cleaner once you go back to the post. Okay, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. Okay, I'm qualified to, and then you can repaste it lead end to end, blah, 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 as well as blah, blah, blah. Now, why would I do that? You want to, like I said before, you want to speak a hiring manager's language. This, these are filled with keywords, right? I'm not an electrical engineer, but like this is rich with embedded keywords related to that industry. Okay. Also, it looks like you did your research. Like you actually went into the job, you read it, you didn't just click, 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 submit. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. The next thing I would do, and this is kind of a silly little thing, but it's important, skip a line. Skip a line in the comments because nobody wants to read a whole long, long, long post. Okay. You have to think about the user experience, especially a decision maker like Frida. Okay. The next part is where you actually add your value to the post. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, think about when you go into an interview. What do you do before an interview? You do your research on the company, right? Any statistics about the company, any research, any new technology, quantitative data. Okay. One of my favorite places to find quantitative data is you go to the company website and you go to their about section. Okay. Pretty much every website, every company has an about section. Let me see if I can find it. Crane. Okay, here we go. I have a feeling that Crane is a cookies. Okay, here we go. Okay, about Crane. Can everyone see the about Crane portion?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we go to About Crane. Like I said, every website has an About section. I love About sections because they are filled with quantitative data, numbers, measurable metrics, things like that. Okay, so if you just sift through, here's a metric that's measurable. They were founded in 1855. That's crazy. They've been around for a very long time. Okay, more than 150 years. Okay, so my point is you have to do a little bit of research on the company. And the reason why you want to put it in a comment is because one, comments are public. Okay. I would also caution people that are currently employed and you're commenting on a job post because comments are public. If your employer is in your network, please be careful. Please use caution. And I'm glad this call is being recorded because I don't want somebody to come back to me and be like, you said blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I would literally sift through a website for any quantitative data about a company. This one happens to have a lot of different sections. So I can almost bet that it has numbers in here. I'm not going to go through every single one, but you get the idea. Does anyone have any questions thus far? So what I would do is I would go back to this post and I would say something like this. I was doing some research on your company and I noticed. Okay, now this is your chance to shine. Anything you notice about the company, any metrics, quantitative data, you can even do a Google search on Crane and you can type in like engineering or whatever. Click the news icon and it'll literally sift the entire internet for anything newsworthy on the company. Like let Google do the work for you. Okay, it's pretty sweet. Okay, so there's so many different ways to add your value. Again, the reason why you want to do it in a post if you're not employed is because you don't want to be seen by one person. You want to be seen by thousands, thousands of people. And here's the thing, this is a huge thing. When you comment on a decision maker's post, they are typically connected to other decision makers. Okay, when you comment on a VP's post, like we're doing right now, they're usually connected to many, many other decision makers. And since comments are public, they will see this value added comment. That's a very big deal. And that is something that a resume will never do. A resume can't do that. Okay, a submission to a job cannot do that. Because again, in my opinion, it's a 1-to-1 ratio when you submit a resume. Leaving a comment is one to many. Okay. All right, cool. The last thing I would do is I would say something like this. I would be interested in discussing, if I could spell discussing current opportunities. Okay, so there's a few reasons why you want to say current. Okay, now this post was a week old, so it's still pretty fresh. But what if the post was a month old? Right? It's not to say that, I mean, it could take more than a month to fill, but sometimes jobs, the post stays open for a month, but they filled it internally, right? So that's why you want to like keep your chances pretty great by asking about any and all current opportunities, plural. plural, plural, plural. Do not just ask about a single role. That is a terrible ratio. Ask about what if they have 7 electrical engineers they're trying to hire internally? Well, if you don't ask, then how do you know they're going to tell you? That was rhetorical, but I'm just saying, like, don't be afraid to ask, right? There's a great lyric from James Taylor, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? You got to ask. You have to ask. Okay. Any questions on 3-point shot strategy, anything like that? Feel free to ask. I've heard them all. I've heard all questions. Please don't be shy.
Could you give an example of what you would put for what you notice from the about section?
Sure. So, like I said, you want to keep it you want to keep it objective and not subjective. In other words, like use metrics. Use any data you found either on the website, the about section, in the news. So, I'll give you an example. I was doing some research on your company, and I noticed that your company did $2.7 million in gross revenue of Q4 of last year. That is measurable and observable. That has nothing to do with my opinion, right? That is fact-based and research-based. Here's an example of a subjective comment. I was doing some research on your company, and I think you have a really cool logo. Well, first off, nobody cares, unless you're in marketing, maybe. Okay, but keep it measurable. Like you have to leave a comment that shows you did your homework on the company. Leaving a subjective comment doesn't really show anything per se. It's just your opinion. It's not to say your opinion doesn't matter, but like everybody's got an opinion. Also, it's the internet. Did that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem. Is it Simon Davis?
Yes, Simon. Hi. I have a question about the search, I guess how you're searching. So we're using quotes. So what if I'm looking for a remote job?
Great
Um,
question. So, okay, so there's a couple different ways to search for remote. First of all, there's multiple synonyms for the word remote. I'll give you a couple of them right off the bat. Remote, work from home, flex, virtual, and hybrid. It's not to say they all mean the exact same thing. It's just the way that an employer might phrase it. They could use different synonyms for remote. So let's give a raw example. So Simon, you want to give me a job title in a city, and I'll show you how to
uh,
search for remote.
application support.
Okay. And the reason why I'm asking for a city too is because you don't just always want to do remote per se, because they might say we're hiring remote in another country.
Okay, Ohio.
Can you give me a city, please?
Oh, Cleveland.
Cleveland, there we go. Okay. And the only reason I'm not picking on you is just
Of course.
because like the majority of job posts will post a city. Like, not, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they'll post a state, but like in terms of search parameters,
Mhm.
you want big cities, right? Big like metropolitan cities. Okay, so application support, Cleveland. Now, I put I put quotes automatically. You can try both with or without quotes. But when I see application and support, typically if you leave it without quotes, it's going to give you everything dealing with application and everything dealing with support. But we want application support together. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's see what happens. Look at that. Well, this one's an engineer. We're hiring for application support, banking, finance, blah, blah, in Cleveland. Okay, here's another one. Now, I don't know if this is totally relevant to what you're saying. Are you looking for an engineer role?
No.
Okay, so just application support. Okay, well, so here's a
Is there a way
specialist
of
role.
is there a way of excluding terms from the search? That is, could you say minus engineer? I know that works in Google. Would that work? Would it be a good idea here?
No, it wouldn't be a bad idea. So, like I said, you got to play around with it. I've seen keywords like not engineer. You could do that. Okay. It's really just like Boolean searches. Like I said, it's not perfect, so you have to play around with it. Applications, yeah, see, it's giving me the same one. But here's application support right here, 4 hours ago. Well, it's in Columbus, but you
It's
want
there.
yeah, but you want Cleveland. So here's another trick, ladies and gents. Once you have your search and you have all your results, type Control F and type in the city. Type in Cleveland or type in the job title. Okay, so right there, I'm going to save myself a lot of time because I typed in Cleveland and there is nothing showing up. But it's because we put not engineer. So if I put that back, oh, what did I do? Engineer. Okay, I'm going to take away
You
engineer.
spelled engineer wrong.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good call. Thank you. So let's try it again. Not engineer. How's that?
Control F might be missing an E. I think that might be why it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
pulling.
yeah. No, still didn't do anything.
Oh,
Oh,
there's like an information
oh no,
technology.
I spelled Cleveland wrong. Sorry.
There's Cali. I mean, there's something.
Okay, so I got two Clevelands. See, the annoying thing about the Control F is it doesn't go right to it, and it could be truncated when you look for Cleveland or any word. So it shows it in the search, but it won't show it. You have to like sift through it. So you got to play around with it. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly support, application support, that, even though it's in Jersey, you got to play around with it a little bit. But I did see an application support in Cleveland, like it just said application support and nothing else. How about you know, how about a specialist?
Yeah.
That could be relevant, right? I mean, here's the thing, Simon and everybody, you're not going to find the perfect job title. Like, it's rare. Okay. But what you do with these posts is once you find something relevant, engage on the post. Again, if you're not employed, just be careful because they're public. And like engage on the post, add value, go to the person's profile, make sure it's legit. Another tactic is if you are employed and you don't want to obviously click engage on job post, go to the person's profile and check out their activity section. Now, it's not to say that you want to engage because it's public and you don't want anyone to see, but you can use a post to break the ice, send a personalized DM, and reference their post. So, like for this person, let's just say it was an automation engineer, okay? I would go to Ganesh's profile, I would message Ganesh, okay? Okay, in this case, I can just straight up message. I don't have to personalize the invite or whatever. The subject line, guys, is in my opinion the most important, period. Okay? Because this is like a cold slash warm email, whatever. So even before somebody opens your message, all they see is the subject line. Okay. If you're on a mobile, all they're going to see is the first like 30 characters of the message. So you have to make it count. So if you're on mobile and it's in the subject line, I would literally just say application or like your post, right? Make it all about the person. It has nothing to do with you. No offense. It has to do with the person who posted because they are somewhat of a decision-making entity. This is a senior recruiter, but they hold hands with a decision maker, right? So your post for an app engineer, right? Something relevant because this person, like Ganesh, posted the role for an app support engineer, excuse me. Does that make sense? And then you go into the post and then you can say what you want. I actually like repeating the post and doing a 3-point shot again because a lot of hiring managers they might accept, but they don't actually read the comments, right? So this is another way to do it. I would even give it a buffer of like 24 to 48 hours after you leave a comment. Because again, comments are public, they stay there forever. This is a good way to like refresh someone's memory if they don't get back to you in the comment. But like give it some breathing room, right? See what happens. Hopefully that was helpful, Simon.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was very helpful.
Cool. Do we have any other inquiries? There's a lot to a lot of different ways to do a search. Okay. You can do a search by company. Okay. Do we have any companies of interest? I mean, it doesn't matter. You just shout one
About
out, whatever.
Yelp.
What was that?
About Yelp.
Yelp, perfect. Okay, so there's many different ways to search. I'm going to go from general to like more specific. So one way to do it is most large and medium-sized companies have a company page. How do you know? It literally says company. Okay, so you go there. What I love about company pages is they serve as a global people directory. It's not just people in your area or your state or whatever, it's global. Okay, so if the person is on LinkedIn and works at Yelp, you're going to find them on a company page. They have 6,800 members. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. The cool thing about a company page is it does top down typically from like decision maker, CEO, director, talent acquisition, things like that, all the way down. You can sift through profiles to look for hidden jobs as well. Kind of like what I did with the keyword search, but this one's a little bit more manual. So you can, like, I just went to this woman, people operations, Jess. Okay, here's some key insights here. Okay, she looks pretty active on the platform. Okay, meaning if I go down to her posts, I mean, I can already guarantee that she is active on the platform. I can just see it. Okay, okay, so she's reposting stuff. Not a bad thing. Everyone's hiring. People are hiring, right? Now, not a whole lot of, okay, here's a post, International Women's Day. The reason why I would comment on hers is because she's, in one respect, she's a decision-making entity for people operations, but on the other hand, she posted 2 years ago. Now, just because she posted 2 years ago does not mean that if you leave a comment, she will get notified from LinkedIn on her phone, on her email, right? LinkedIn's very powerful. So she's not like super active. Like she doesn't make original content, but you can literally sift through anyone you want on Yelp on the company page. And I would go into their profile, go to their activity section and look for job posts because people post them all the time. It's just they might not be directly in your network. So you have to do more of a proactive search this way or with keywords. One more way I'm going to show how to search by company. I like this way better. It's a little bit more autonomous. The formula is just company hiring. So I'm going to do Yelp hiring. Now, of course, you're going to get like everything under the sun because you didn't put in a job title, but that's okay. The reason we want to do that is we want to find the decision-making entities behind someone saying Yelp is hiring. So it's going to give me a bunch of raw data like before. I'm going to click on posts. Okay, boom. 2 weeks ago, Denise McGuane posted, "Come join my team for a growth ops manager." Boom. Okay, perhaps that's not the job you're looking for, but guess what? There are plenty of other jobs that are hiring, all from Yelp. So if you want to get super specific, you can do it by job title, you could do it by company, you can even target specific decision makers. You can type in Yelp and like talent acquisitions, and then you can filter by people, or you could just go to the company page and there's literally a built-in Google search. So like there's so many different ways to do it. I know that I said in the beginning, like I don't like using the job boards. Okay. I think what I was trying to say is like there's nothing wrong with applying to a job, but please, please, please don't have that be your sole strategy. Do not have that be your sole strategy because you will bang your head against the wall, like plenty of job seekers have done, myself included. It's just I like this way a little bit better because it makes the process a little bit more human. Okay, it makes it more human. You get to engage with people. It's not to say that everyone will respond, but like at least you are getting seen on a platform of over 1 billion people globally. Again, you don't have to be connected to a single soul. When you comment, engage, create content, your content does get seen by, and the algorithm has gotten smarter. Well, it will start to push your content based on the type of content you are creating. Any other questions? I want to briefly touch on content creation, but if there's any questions, feel free to let me know. Yes, networking is better than shuffling papers. Okay, so content creation. Oh man. All right, so I'm gonna sum this up because I've perfected this over the years. Everyone's always like, "What do I post? What do I post? I don't know what to post." Okay, so there are two routes. Okay, the number one thing that I tell every single person, whether you're neurodivergent or not, create bite-sized pieces of original content that displays your subject matter expertise. I'll say it again. Create bite-sized original pieces of content that display your subject matter expertise. That might sound like a whole lot of fancy whatever, but the easiest way to think about it, treat LinkedIn like your digital diary. Treat LinkedIn like your digital diary. And I'll give you an example. A day in the life of an electrical engineer from Los Angeles. Today, I worked on a project that included X, Y, and Z. We had to create a spreadsheet and put in all the members at blah, 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 blah. When you document your process or a day in the life of, you are automatically embedding the keywords in which hiring managers are already typing in to find you. You can't do that with a resume. A resume just sits there, but content is active. Okay, and content is a living, breathing thing which anyone in the world can find. Not anyone in the world can find your resume, by the way. It is an embedded document. So that's a massive difference between a single piece of content and your resume. That's a humongous difference. Was that was that okay? Was that clear? How long should a video be if you make one? Great question. I would say no more than like 60 seconds to 2 minutes. And I'll tell you why. Think about a person's attention span. It's short. It's real short. So here's an easy way to do that. Let's say your video's 3 minutes, okay? Or heck, let's say it's 10 minutes, right? You're talking about something very passionate. If it's 10 minutes, well, now you can chop it up into 10 1-minute videos. If you want to make it 2 minutes, now you have five 2-minute videos. And now you have content either for 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, or a week if you want to post twice a week, right? Make a series of content, right? A day in the life of electrical engineer, day one, day two, day three. This is this project, this is that project. Make a series of content. And now, what do you have? The beginning of a brand. Okay. What else? How somebody said how long should okay? How often to post? Once a week, twice a week. I always get this question, and I mean, one time I made like a kind of a snide remark to a job seeker. I didn't even mean it, but I was like, he was like, well, how much should I post? And I was like, well, how quickly do you need a job? Because, and I said that respectfully, but like I realized it came off kind of snarky. The more content you post, the more visible you become. It's pretty straightforward, right? The more you engage, the more visible you become because now you just doubled your network. Your network gets the comment gets seen by your network, and the comment gets seen by that person's network that you post on, like a decision maker. When I was looking for a job, I was hustling hard. I mean, I was posting 2, 3 times a day, Monday through Friday. And people think that people don't look at each other's stuff on the weekend. It's fair game, 7 days a week. Like, but I would start with like one a day, right? Or one every other day. Build up to it. Create collateral that you're in a position. It also falls under economic. I posted several pieces of documentation when I second and created at the appropriate spots on my profile. I also posted the paper that played a big role in it. So, okay, great. Posting a paper is awesome. Congratulations, that's great. What I would also do is because you also have to think about a person's attention span, okay? And I mean, if it's an article, then yes, it is SEO friendly, like a LinkedIn article. But if it's like a PDF of an article, to my knowledge, it is not very SEO friendly because nobody can really search for the keywords within a PDF. So I would keep it like a straight flat post with words, right? Complete sentences, all that. You can even chop up an article, right? Create a series like day 1 through 10 on whatever paper, whatever presentation. Make it a series of content. You don't have to do an insane amount of content because if you do, like I said before, if you do a 10-minute video, you could chop it up 1 minute a piece. You got 2 weeks of content Monday through Friday, right? Like less is more. Work smarter, not harder kind of deal. I'm just like sifting through all these comments in the chat.
I know, Simon, you had your hand up. I wanted to make sure that your question was addressed. Do you have a question?
I forgot it, but I think it came back. I guess
Hey.
my question is what do I post? Because it's just like, do I do like day in the life of like, finding a job? Do I like post like I know one of the things I'm like super like into is obviously like AI. I always look up new things. Like I've been super into DeepSeek, which is the thing that China made. Like, do I write like what's so cool about it and how you should use it? Like,
Yeah,
that
why
I
not?
know I know LinkedIn's like supposed to be this professional things, or do I talk about, oh, today I write in bed and it felt great, How was your day?
That's a great question. All human, right? Like we all have like good days and bad days and whatever. I would mix it up, right? So like you could talk about DeepSeek. I think that's all applicable to your role, right? To application support, like all like I think that's very applicable.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and like I think I mentioned this before, but like document your expertise and or your learning journey. So if you're pivoting and you're learning a skill, do not wait 30 days to finish that certification. Post your findings every single day. Like most certification has a syllabus of like the learning journey. Literally post your findings every single day, and that will serve as like an SEO tool for you to get found by employers. You don't have to wait for you to finish a certification. Like document your hustle online.
Looks like we might have a question from Jenny.
Yeah, it's a previous comment. Given the trend that some companies and their HR are moving away from AI screens because there are AI companies and people copying and pasting already, regurgitating information that it's already there, those facts, isn't it perhaps more useful to differentiate yourself with your insights, which you kind of highlighted with the content creation part, because that not only strengthens your brand, but it is subjective. So hopefully it's a positive insight. But then this way, the network effect is beneficial for you instead of using generic factual stuff that AI or anyone can find that doesn't differentiate you.
Absolutely. So the the objective stuff is like that was what I was alluding to, like when you're on like a decision maker post. I was just saying like don't keep it as subjective. The reason being it's because you want to like display that you actually took the time to do some research, right? I mean, think about what you do in an interview or to prep for an interview. You do your research on a company, right? And you like regurgitate it more or less, or you display your findings, or you create like a most viable product, an MVP, right? To solve a pain point for a company, something like that. But the content creation part is displaying what you know. Doesn't have to be about a company, could be about your skill set, or again, if you're pivoting, like something you're learning about, right? Like the whole thing with all these platforms, in my opinion, is like you have to give to this platform if you want to receive anything in return. People have it twisted where they'll just ask, 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 or take without giving anything in return. You have to give your knowledge, your value, your hustle, your give, and then ask, right? That's why like I created like that framework of a 3 point shot because it's like showing your insights, your research, and then you go in for the like, hey, I'd love to learn about current opportunities. Most people start backwards, Jenny. They start with like, hey, I want to know about some current opportunities. And then they'll wait 30 days. All right, then I'll do my research on the company. Well, I say flip the script and like get seen by many decision makers, right? In public, which is a comment. You can't do that via DM or the application process. That's one to one.
Great advice. We also had a question that came through from the or in the chat from Krista. So just I'll read it off. What if you did a career pivot with your current job, but you don't want to completely abandon your past career field? Can you post on both topics?
Absolutely. Because your past expertise is yours and you own it. Why not? Well, and also now you have one expertise and one learning journey. Now you have even more content. Why not? And also, like anything that is pending, like you're working on, still put it in your profile. I don't care what anyone says. Why? Because it's SEO friendly. And people might be searching, employers might be searching for that skill set. Even if you say in progress, who cares, right? Some companies are like desperate for your skill set. And if it says in progress, you never know. They could want to pay for you to finish that training. You never know. I'm just saying, like, put everything out there. Not everything, but use caution. It is the internet.
That's amazing, amazing advice. Well, Jacob, thank you so much for joining. Oh, it looks like Brian has a question. Not sure if we have one extra. Brian, is your question, we'll be able to answer it in like a minute or two?
Yes. Is having government experience on your resume, like state government, will that help, especially when I talk about it on LinkedIn?
You know, at first I would say it does help. Like, why not? But I'll be totally honest. I've had numerous state employees come to me and saying like that it's affected their job search. So I can't say I don't want to say it helps or hinders because I don't want to give like crappy advice, but I'm just giving you my experience that like I have been confronted by a few neurodivergent state employees and like they actually want to flip gears and look for private work, right, in the private sector. So I mean, it's kind of subjective. Like I can't say if it helps or hinders. It's just I understand where you're coming from.
I was a contractor, so I mean, and I'm not sure if I want to return to that kind of to public service, but
So I would say if you're a contractor, I think it's actually you're in a better place because contract work is contract work, right? You can have like a 6 month stint, put it on your resume, and you're like, I was a contractor. That's it. That's literally the purpose of contract work. It's like project work.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Thank you, Brian, and everyone who had such amazing questions in the chat. We will be sending along a recording from this call, usually about 1 to a week and a half after. But we'll aim to have that sooner for everyone. This was so amazing, Jacob. Thank you so much for all of your just impressive insights from like LinkedIn to the job process to the seeker experience. We're just so grateful to have you on here. So thanks so much. And yeah, we hope to see everyone at our future events.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Steph. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.